Hello Internet and good whatever time of day it is to you. Welcome back once again to NerdVsWorld. This is episode number 11, the Nerdynomicon. It's a slightly different show for you this week from normal. This is the edited highlights of a lovely conversation that my wife, my daughter and I had with the wonderful Robert and Raygun Rankin, who kindly gave up a couple of hours of their Saturday evening to come and talk to us in a pub in Brighton while we were down there for the weekend. So yes, I hope you enjoy, and I will speak to you on the other side. Welcome to we're in the Crown and Anchor pub in Brighton, and there's myself, Spindles, there's Mr. Robert Rankin.
Hello.
And there's my daughter Megan. Hi. And my wife Emma.
No, not her.
So yes, anyways, thank you for coming and doing this. Very, very kind of you taking some time out.
My pleasure. What do we want to talk about?
Well, absolutely anything. The thing is that the podcast started out as just kind of me and my friend Adi. We decided we were going to just sit and record us drinking beer and talking in our living room.
Yes, many years ago when I lived in Henfield, I had a friend Piers. Piers and I used to get, I believe the expression is stoned, and we used to have a very good time. And we used to sit around my house, and I had a tape recorder that recorded all manner of things. Probably a clever mic like that as well. You really don't want to play them back the next morning, do you? It's just gibberish. It's just...
What was it? Yeah.
It made sense at the time.
Well, yeah, it was very wise. There were things I thought there'd be such great inspiration for books, brilliant ideas. It's just two drunks.
Yeah. We did kind of get that at one point because just as we were celebrating it in the show on Stitcher, we decided to get loads of people in. We had like about 16 people in one room, lots of alcohol and one microphone.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
No. I've still got some of those tapes. And the best ones are where you decide all sing a song you know so well. We sung Gene Pitney's 24 Hours from Tulsa, and I had no understanding that it had quite so many swear words in it when Gene sung it.
Is that
24 hours from... What? Yeah. I did one not so long ago, because I do, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I do make sure I write that down. And it said... On this piece of paper it said, if you ever want to know whether it's a good woman, ask her two questions. One question, what does she prefer? Smiling for Jesus or bloodshed in Switzerland?
Okay.
But it didn't say what the answer was.
You were having a wonderful conversation in your sleep last night.
Oh.
Apparently so. Apparently I was talking about hover bikes and things in my sleep, so... I woke up this morning to get a message on Facebook going, WTF, just had a massive conversation with you about flying and hover bikes.
That was amusing.
You must be thinking ahead of yourself.
Anyway, what Megan would be most interested in asking
Oh, right.
is, so when is our summer master?
Oh, well, it's gone off to the printers, and it's much better than Empires. Empires was a little bit not as good as it could have
I
been.
thought it was funny. I liked the twist on the Adam and Eve.
Ah, yeah. Well, all the different planets. Yeah. Well, it's 50 pages of writing and 50 full-size illustrations, and it was something I wanted to do for a long time. And we've done it, and it's gone off to the printers in Lithuania. Last year, when we did Empires, an enormous lorry, because we only live around the corner of a little side street, an enormous lorry came up our street, and we went, oh look, it's got Lithuania written on the side, I bet it's the delivery. And a man got down and he looked at the house, and he knocked on the door and he said, you are not a shop? And I said, no, I have 1,000 books on the pallet. And I said, oh good. And then we went and we looked, and every box only had 15 books in it. So that was quite a big pallet. One by one, we took them into the house.
Into a house?
Quite a lot, it went up the walls. So It's coming out. It's gone off to the printers in Lithuania, and I'm told it will be back at the end of this month. Now, if you come to the London Film and Comic Con at the beginning of July, I shall be selling them there. But if you've got to buy them through the internet thing on my Facebook, after the London Film and Comic Con, we're going on our holidays for a couple of weeks. So I can't take any orders for a couple of weeks till I get back. Because last time we did sell an awful lot through the Facebook page. You know.
Megan's got pet number 989.
Yeah, it's almost done. Yeah, we're almost done.
And there were only 999 of them.
Yeah.
One of them was upside down, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Let's see if we come back the right way around this time.
I got about 10 left out of that. I mean, I was really impressed because when they did arrive, the first thing we did, we went off to this thing somebody invited us to in Eastbourne, and we sold 8 copies, and we still had that left 992 piled up in the hall. I was a little bit worried about that, and then, but we had sold them all before the year was up. With Alice, we're doing 3,000 copies. I've ordered 1,500, which would be a lot more piled up in the hall, wouldn't it? And I hope I can sell them.
I'm sure
because then they're going to finance the next book I do, which then finances the next book I do. But you will, I think you'll like it. It's much better than Empires.
You're going to end up with 2,000 people that don't have Empires. You might have to reprint Empires.
Well, is Empires available online, or is it?
No, it's all sold out.
I mean as a kind of webcomic.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is on
yeah,
Beyond Reality Media. Beyond Reality Media. And they will be doing Alice, and they'll be doing a full colour version of that. What I'm doing is, as soon as I've got Alice, I'm going to send it off to a few publishers and say, are you interested in publishing it in about a year's time in colour? You know, if you are, because we've got the colour version and all that. The way things are with publishers, I probably won't find a publisher. They are where the world is getting much more interesting because you can produce your own book to quality of publishing and produce and people are producing wonderful, wonderful things. The publishers themselves are getting less and less imaginative, and they're saying no. You know, and you come up with things and you think they'd love that, and they go, wouldn't touch that. You know.
There's so many fewer outlets to sell books through. I know you got Amazon, which is fantastic and huge, and through that, lots and lots of second-hand bookstores and very little enterprises can sell books to a much wider audience, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But then you've got the vast majority of books go through Tesco's. And they only stock
they do. Yeah.
the top 20.
That's right.
That completely cuts down your options. And even W.H. Smith's doesn't really sell us a wide selection. Yeah. But you used to get all HMV used to have its own set of books, which was slightly more imaginative.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
They'd also cherry pick the interesting books. I remember because once in a while they'd cherry pick mine. I was ever so chuffed when I was in HMV. I thought it was cool.
Well, that's the place to sell books. It was like I think I remember with the music chart. It used to be if you got your single into Woolworths, you were made. Because there was a Woolworths on every high street, and that's where everyone bought their music. So if you got your music into Woolworths, then you were going to sell it.
Well, within 2 or 3 years, there won't be any Waterstones left. Waterstones is losing money because of Amazon. You know.
Well, I mean, we've already seen the death of Borders.
Yeah, but Waterstones is actually running at a loss at the moment, and they're keeping it on the high street. But there was just such a huge change in publishing. I mean, also with Kindle, the fact that anybody can put their book up as a Kindle edition, give it away for 50p if they want, and it might get an interesting following, networking, viral thing, and suddenly it's like 50 Shades of Grey, isn't it? You know, that never went to a publisher. It was somebody put it up there thinking they'd never get a publisher for it.
You know, fan fiction. You had to change the names from Bella and Edward to whatever they are.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, apparently it was originally Twilight fanfic, apparently, and then they changed the names.
But the whole face is changing in the publishing.
Well, I'm very excited to see Lady Raygun because she was very funny.
Well, she's in a book, a novel I wrote, which is called The Mechanical Messiah. She's one of the heroes in that book that came out, I think, last year.
Yeah, we've got that book if you want to read it.
Yeah. And she's in the book I'm writing at the moment, The Abominable Showman, and that's the one I'm writing at the moment.
Yeah, and I heard you writing about Barry's coming back.
Barry is, yeah, because I had to. I wrote the 4 sort of Victorian books, and then I got a contract with a new publisher because I fell out with my publisher, and periodically I will fall out with the publisher. Periodically they'll throw me out, you know. But so it was a bit 50-50, and you know, I walked away in a huff and said, I'm not working with you anymore. And then came home and went, oh God, what have I done? And then I thought, no, that's absolute nonsense. I could phone up another publisher and get another deal. And I phoned up this guy and I said, would you publish me if I was available? And he said, let me get back to you. I'll talk to my partner. And I thought, well, yeah, probably been a month or so. And he phoned me back in half an hour. And he said, how much do you want? And when can you start? And I said, well, so much. And he went, I'll get back to you. And then he phoned me back half an hour later. I'll send you a contract. I said, is that all you want? And he said, well, yeah, okay, that's all I want, you know. And I had this enormous discussion with my publisher at the time about what they wanted, and they wanted spin-offs. They decided that the future of publishing in science fiction was going to be this year I mean now, fairies. It was going to be fairy stories with a hard edge because they'd already had Grimm last year.
And Once Upon a Time.
And they also
Snow
then...
White and the Huntsman,
Yeah.
And Hansel and Gretel, right?
Yeah.
So, with the vast imagination that some publishers have, they said, all we want from anybody now is fairy tales with a hard edge. And I said, I don't do that. I'm not going to do that.
No.
And you know, so anyway, we had a bit of a discussion, and I said, well, bye then.
Post all Twilight coming out and things like that, they started being their own section in Waterstones, which was called horror romance horror or something.
Oh yeah,
urban fantasy.
Yeah. And that was all these kind of Twilight books. So I imagine now they've looked at that, now they're thinking, well, fairy's going to be a...
Oh yeah, because I mean they've done vampires and they've done zombies and they've done them to death. I mean, you know, do you really want one more vampire book and one more zombie book? I mean, all right, we can put up probably with one more zombie movie if it's funny, like Cockneys versus Zombies,
which was hilarious.
Movie.
I watched that you know, late at night one night. I think Emma was downstairs and I was just upstairs. I was trying to go to sleep, and I was like, "Well, let's put that on." I couldn't go to sleep. It was fantastic.
It was
Cockneys versus Zombies. It was brilliant.
It was a very good one. But I mean, other than that, you know, do I want Evil Dead 37 or whatever?
Well, they've reset it now. It's Evil Dead 1.
Oh, this is the one with what's his name in it? What's his name?
Evil Dead?
Yeah, what's his name?
I don't know who's in it.
The famous actor who does the...
Well, there's Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell,
Evil Dead,
yeah. I haven't seen it, but that's supposed to be very good, isn't it?
Well, I've not seen the remake, because I'm very much in the camp of why bother remaking it, because the originals were brilliant. Yeah. And Bruce Campbell's a genius.
They're remaking everything at the moment. It's, you know,
that's all,
Came and went, and all the other things. People want dead certs, they don't want to take a chance on the film.
They remade Gone with the Wind, didn't they, a few years back?
Did they?
I just thought...
Dear God, no, that one snuck by.
I know. It's unforgivable, isn't it?
We did watch The Amazing Spider-Man.
We did finally get around to watching The Amazing Spider-Man the other day.
Yes, because that was a different Spider-Man, wasn't it? That was a different movie. There's a new Superman movie.
Well, it's all following the trend that America don't have good enough actors. They have to import British ones, because Spider-Man's British, and the new Superman, all-American hero, is British.
It's quite interesting. Because, Britons were only allowed to play villains.
Apparently, we used to be, with the Alan Rickmans and Gary Oldmans of the world.
They didn't want to offend black people. They didn't want to offend the Arabs too much, so they didn't never offend the Jews. So who can be villains? Englishmen. Oh, we can offend the Limeys.
They say, oh, that's all great, we'll get paid a fortune, thank you very much, we will be your villain.
It probably starts, I was watching this documentary this afternoon about Alec Guinness, and I didn't know whether it was true, this business of him taking 2% of the Star Wars thing, but it is true. He got 2.25% or something.
That was all that persuaded him to do it.
Yeah, and it was, George Lucas at that time thought that it was Alec Guinness that was going to sell the movie, and so he'd cut him in for a share of the profits. Alec Guinness, it was wonderful because he said, Alec Guinness never worked again, except once in a while when he felt like it. You just go, oh yes,
absolutely. It's like, that was a good move.
That's how people made money. Some people got like percentage of the merch?
Well, no. With Star Wars, it was George Lucas kept the merchandising rights.
Yeah.
That was the key thing. And then the Star Wars toys went absolutely berserk, and that's where he made an absolute fortune, was through the merchandising.
And now he's made another fortune selling it all.
Well, now he's sold the whole job lot to Disney. Yeah.
But I got about a couple of years ago. My friend, the guy who financed Empires, he said, "Oh, I've got a contact in Los Angeles who might be interested in one of your books, and we're making a movie out of it." And I thought, "Oh God, I've heard that a million times."
Options on?
Yeah, this was Look, Sex and Drugs and Sausage Rolls.
All right.
So anyway, then he phones me up and he says, "Oh, there'll be a contract in the post." I said, "Contract?" I said, "No, I've never got as far as that." I said, "I've heard some talk, but a contract, wow." So a 17-page contract arrives. I read it and I thought, well, I have no idea what language that's written in. I mean, it is English, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think it
know
says
what
stuff.
Single paragraph means. So I've got a friend who's a TV director, and I said, if I send you this contract, you've written out a few and you've had a few, so you'll know what it means. "Oh, I'll know what it means. Yeah, you send it to me." So he does one. About 24 hours later, he phones me back and he goes, "Is this a joke?" And I said, "What?" He said, "No, really." He said, "This is a wind-up, isn't it?" He said, "This isn't a real contract." I said, "It's a real contract." I'm like, "No." I said, "No, it's real." So I'll get back to you, he said. Anyway, he got back to me a couple of days later. And he said, "Right," he said, "what you got there?" He said, "You've got a 17-page contract." He said, 16 and a half pages take away everything you own for nothing. They take away the rights to your own characters. They don't allow you to write another book with those characters in. They take away any rights you have if anything was turned into a stage play, a musical, a TV show." So I said, all of that. I said, "Do I get anything?" He said, "There's one paragraph," he said, "which says you get paid X amount of money when the film gets made." And I said, "How much money do I get?" He said, "Well, you don't get anything." I said, "Well, he just told me I got some money." He said, "Well, you get X amount of money on certain conditions," he said. "And every one of those conditions," he said, "they're perfectly able to use as an excuse for not giving money." So I said, "We got 17 pages and I don't get a penny." "No, but you do give away basically your rights to everything." I said, "It's unbelievable."
Insane.
So I got back onto these people and I said this to them. I said, "I can't sign this contract." I said, "I can sign this contract if you give me a share of this, share of that, blah, 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 blah." And they literally went, "Next, please."
Dear God.
So I didn't get a Hollywood movie.
No.
Can you imagine if they'd made it and it had been successful? I'd have shot myself.
I've just given it all away.
Yes, every penny. And all the merchandising rights, all that, they were all covered, you know.
It's like, what do you mean you're suing me for wearing a T-shirt of my own film?
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a goer, would it?
No. But you haven't had a movie, but you have had a radio play. In fact, you've had two now, isn't it? Because you had Brightonomicon.
Just the one. He can't get the money up for another
No?
one. No, the BBC won't pay him. They won't finance it, and they won't say you will definitely have it if you make it yourself, because the BBC are in the position of saying, well, look, at any one time we are dozens and dozens of sound producers are coming up to us and they're saying, here's a programme, here's a programme, here's a programme, so they can cherry pick what they want. The guy who made it, Neil Gardner, every time he goes to the BBC, he takes about 20 projects, and then they go,
yes, no, maybe.
Make that one and we'll see.
Yeah.
He works very, very hard and earns very, very little money, and it's a great shame. I doubt if it'll get made. The guy who wrote it said he's prepared to finance it because he's sort of, privately wealthy, really.
Yeah.
But, if he does, he may never get his money back, and more than that, he still may never get on the radio. Nothing is guaranteed anymore, which is another reason that I'm involved in sort of doing it myself now.
Yeah.
I've got one more book to write. Thank you so much. I'd like to put on the podcast. Is that still working?
Yeah, it's still working. Yeah.
I'd put on the podcast. This is my second free drink for doing this show.
We like to keep our guests.
I was never treated
alcohol
like this at the BBC. I was once in a BBC green room and had lemonade and orange juice. And I said, where's the alcohol? And they said, oh no, it's all a big health kick now. I said, not with me.
Well, they do seem to be doing a lot more of the kind of audio books, because I know that historically speaking, they did stuff like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and they made them into excellent productions, and Hitchhikers and stuff like that. And I mean, recently it seemed to me that they were doing a resurgence, because they did Brightonomicon, and then there was...
They've done a load of Pratchett stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, and Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere got done recently as well.
Neverwhere was massive.
It was, because it was Benedict Cumberbatch and James McAvoy and people like that.
They'd already done it on telly, haven't they?
It was done on telly in the 90s. And
was that long ago?
That was a classic BBC production of The Beast of London is a cow with some plastic horns stuck on it.
Well, you only ever got to see the shadow.
I watched only a little bit of it, and it was so cheap and nasty I couldn't really watch it anymore. But the more I had to do was, well, at least Neil Gaiman's making some money. I'm good with that. The man's a god. Give him some more money.
Well, speaking of, his Doctor Who will be on right now. I'll have to watch it on iPlayer later, maybe.
I watched the Mark Gatiss one last night.
That was really good.
Such fun. He really has good fun doing those, doesn't he? You know,
I'm looking forward to the Adventures in Space and Time, because it's like a biopic for the 50th anniversary. Oh. So they've got the guy who played Filch in Harry Potter. He's playing William Hartnell in that's just the story of how Doctor Who came about, and that's written by Mark Gatiss.
There was people whinging about the last episode of Doctor Who, saying, are they going to make it into a kids' TV series?
It's always been a kids' TV series.
I'm not looking forward to the next one because there's a load of kids going into the TARDIS. So, but it's a Neil Gaiman episode. How can it go wrong?
Is that my wife? No.
I don't know. Somebody
it looked like somebody interesting with an interesting hat.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it looked like a top hat with goggles.
Yes, it did. Maybe we have Brighton steampunks coming in.
Well, we've got Professor Elemental's on tonight because we're going to see him later on. He's
on
the Marlborough Little Theatre.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so we're going to see him tonight.
It's a 16 plus gig.
Yeah.
Do you think she looks old enough?
I think that is my wife. It is my wife.
She's hanging out.
She's on the phone.
Hanging out in the corridor.
You know that the Mars came in and invaded Earth? When are the other planets come and invade Earth?
Will the other planets invade Earth?
No, I don't think so. No, but you see, in the series of books that I wrote, I based it on H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, right? And which was written in what, 1880 something or other?
Yeah, 1880.
So he wrote. I mean, H.G. Wells really wrote some of the first science fiction books of the modern age, and he was the first person to really write about an invasion from Mars. And at the end of that book, all the Martians get killed by earthly bacteria.
By sneezes.
Yes, yeah, by colds. They can't stand up. They have no immunity. But I just thought, well, hang on, at the end of this, all those spaceships are going to be lying around all over England and nowhere else.
Yeah.
So we have this Martian spaceships. So the next move was to put a few rather ill people in them and send one back to Mars, wasn't it? To kill all the Martians off.
That's it.
And then suddenly we were in charge of, Mars and England. And at that time, you see, then you find out that there are other planets that there are people living on, Venus and Jupiter, isn't there? And so I like the idea that then all the planets then become friends because the evil Martians, the horrible ones, we've killed them. So the rest of the planets like us. And
so yes, you sneezing is a defence system for the Earth. It's all good.
It's clever stuff, isn't it? I mean, he wrote the definitive science fiction book.
Yeah.
Once you've done Aliens Invade Earth, well, he's done it, hasn't he? I mean, that's been done now.
Megan, as part of your continuing education, we have the collected works of H.G. Wells at home, so you can start making your way through those.
Yeah, I do that. I wouldn't do the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe yet, though. So
not quite yet.
I'm not ready yet.
We'll save Lovecraft for a bit after that as well.
We do have Lovecraft.
We do have a giant book of fear that Mummy bought me for our anniversary.
A giant book of fear?
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Well, I had a question. At which point did you come up with amazing names for your books? Because you said earlier about the abominable showman. And then you got
they come out of the blue, right? That one, I was reading something in the Fortean Times, and I simply read The Abominable Snowman as The Abominable Showman, and went, oh, that's good, that's very clever. Actually, that isn't what they wrote. But it's always things like that. I wrote a book called They Came and Ate Us, because my wife at the time said, oh, you write these books with these stupid titles, and like, They Came and Ate Us. And I said, that's a great title! I said, I'm having that.
Wait a minute, I'm going to write this down, it's gold.
So I think that's what first attracted me to your writing, was the fact that it had such ridiculous names that I thought, this has got to be brilliant.
Oh, blimey. You are easily led.
Of course, she married me.
The best title, and I don't think it can be topped. If you have a 3-word title that makes people laugh, and I wrote Armageddon, the musical.
Yeah.
And after I'd written it, I thought, I can't beat that. You know, that's about as ludicrous as it gets. Hey, it's Armageddon, the musical.
Yeah, no, that was the first book of yours I bought.
Ah.
It's alright, I can...
No, you're the interviewer.
Okay, sorry, I'm
the
the
man.
interviewer.
I'm just a...
You just sit here and watch us drink.
Oh, is it going?
It is, it's going, yeah, sorry.
It is. Yeah, you can be in.
Random conversation. And everything stopped for beer.
Yes, the titles just they were the same as the ideas. If it's what you do for a living, you're always on the lookout, aren't you? You know, I remember when we came up with the idea of the book, Brentford Chainsaw Massacre.
That's one of my favourites.
And I was in Dublin at Opticon with a friend of mine, Stephen Malone, who became Dr. Stephen Malone in the book because it was, and I dedicated the book to him, I think. And there was an author's party thing, and we weren't invited to it. So he said, "Wow, you should be. You're an author." I said, "No, but you can't get in." We can get in there. So we sneaked into this author party, and we got very drunk at their expense. We had a jolly good time, and we were saying, "Oh, bad ideas." And we said, "What's the worst idea you could come up with in the 20th century? There must be a really terribly, appallingly bad idea." And I think they must have seen Jurassic Park, because we started about cloning. We'd clone this and we'd clone that and we'd clone something else. And then he suddenly went, "Oh, we'd clone Jesus. Oh, we'd get the Turin Shroud and we'd clone Jesus." And I said, "Oh, it's a work of genius." I said, "No, it's even better. We'll clone 6 Jesuses." I said, "All the religions can have one each. You know, we get one off the Turin Shroud, one off the staff, one off the nails of the true cross." I said, "Oh, brilliant, you know." And then I said, "That's a book, isn't it?" I said, "Oh, well, that's the next book, isn't it?" So, I mean, it was magic. A friend of mine. I mean, when I wrote Knees Up Mother Earth, a friend of mine, we were having a chat, I said, "Why have you never written a Brentford book about football? They got a football club." I said, "Why have I never written a Brentford book about football?" Piece of cake. Lovely. Brentford win the FA Cup. There's a book. It's so easy, isn't it? Anybody can be a writer. Piece of cake.
Everybody is.
And everybody is.
Thanks to Amazon.
Yeah, we've had anyone can publish Kindle.
There's a little crowded on Kindle.
I think some of the funniest things you can read are the Amazon reviews for Methylated Spirits.
So
that's
it's a
the
book,
biggest
isn't
one.
it? I mean, they're fabulous. What are the ones, right?
The Lady Bix. Oh, the Lady Bix for writing. It turned my husband into
That
started
really expensive
baking.
scarf lead thing that allows you to
it's
travel
like
through
£1 million
time.
for a scarf. It makes you travel through time, yeah. What else was there?
People have started on Amazon. You know, Amazon has reviews for books and everything else. Well, they also sell things on Amazon like biros and all this sort of thing. So people started putting up humorous reviews, and it became a kind of big. Everyone was competing. There was one for the toys of the Olympic Games, the silly little thing.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
And there was one that was like a policeman, and it said, "Beware of this one, it'll kettle all the rest." Imagine that stopped it.
Will you, in other books, will you see any other planets that are Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Saturn? Like, because you've got Satan and other planets, will you see more people that are from other planets?
Actually, that's a very good point. Because in the one I'm writing at the moment, which is set with the people from the other planets, I haven't really got hardly anybody from the other planets in it. It's actually so I have to put that up. Oh, thank you. I'll put them in tomorrow.
The protagonist have a little chum, maybe a little girl chum. Stick her into a book.
I'll give you a small mention, all right, in the next book. Because you gave me that idea, because I had forgotten actually.
Because we said earlier about that we used to run pubs, and this is because we read a lot of your books while we were doing that, and it always made me kind of look at all our regulars in a very, very different way. Honestly, you've no idea what it's like, because you see the same people all day, every day. They come in when you open at 11 and they leave at midnight.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's so believable, those characters that they do sit in the pub all day. I mean, I have to ask, did you sit in the pub all day and just watch people? Because it looks like you did.
I think I just spent an awful lot of time of my life in pubs. And for years and years and years, I had nowhere to write at home. I'd go down the pub and write. And on all the first sort of 10, probably 20 books were written in the pub. And as long as I could find a pub with no music, and usually a pub with no music is also a pub with no violence.
Yes.
You know, loud music brings on the violence, doesn't it?
Pub with no TV generally is a good one.
TV as well is a good one. And I could always generally find a pub that was like that and sit in it and write. But yeah, so you would watch them day after day after day, which is why so much action in my books, or inaction, happens in the pubs, because
Oh, yeah, it is
old
absolutely
cliche about that, what you know, don't you?
And this was mentioned in a recent review as your books are now maybe a little inappropriate, considering we now frown on all-day drinking.
It's why. It's one of the reasons that Graham always said.
All day drinking.
It was mentioned in a review that they'd spend an inordinate amount of time sitting in pubs.
Well, Graham said there was a number of things, you know.
Yeah.
That they're very Hollywood is very, very careful about the amount of drinking that goes on in any movie.
But not the violence or the...
No, that's fine, but it's
that's
really
all
important
fine,
whether the main character smokes or not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Only the
a
bad
bad
guys
person
smoke.
smokes.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
The great one is Buffy from Moralistic.
This is a Whedon one, isn't it? Yeah.
So what happens when Buffy sleeps with Angel underage? Well, Angel turns into an evil vampire and starts smoking.
That's what evil people do.
You know, because she did a bad moral thing. All of a sudden he becomes evil and he smokes.
I missed
And then
that episode.
Again, when she...
It was the end of season 1, was it? I think of when Buffy and Angel sleep together and Angel turns into Angelus for the first time.
But you know
And then,
also...
and then when she drank underage at university...
And she turned into Cave Buffy. Yeah.
I never saw these.
Yeah.
You know also...
So cheesy.
In the films, it's always the good guys use Mac and the bad guys use PCs.
If you want to defeat an invasion, you have to have a Mac.
No, you'd think IBM's got a little bit more power than Mac.
Well, no, because if you look at Independence Day, how do they take down aliens? With an Apple Mac.
You were talking about the names and how you come up with the names of the books.
Right.
So kind of what comes first, the name or the plot?
Ah.
Or do you have lots of random names that lots of books?
All right. For a lot of years, I suppose in a way what comes first is the deadline, because the book's got to be handed in at a certain time. So that book has got to be finished by a certain time. So you have to kind of figure out how much time you've got. And then I probably spend more time thinking about a book before I start writing it than I ever do when I'm writing it. Because when you're writing it, you sit down and you write the chapter, and then the next day you sit down and write the next chapter. I don't think you spend too much time thinking about it in between the chapters. You know, you get back into it when you do that. But before you do it...
You come up with concepts and then you kind of get into
when you
the
write,
world and then
yes,
you just
when you've written
carry
chapter
on.
1,
Yeah.
which is the most difficult thing to do. If you can get through chapter 1, the book should write itself, in theory. But it's to get to actually the writing of the book, you do need a fair amount of stuff in your head, and you're always thinking, oh, that's quite interesting. That's when you read something and you go, oh, that's a good thing. Oh, somebody's invented that, or you visit a museum and there's something interesting in there. It's not impossible that there was a time of myth and magic and all these things, and that changed, the ages have changed, and that those great heroes of old did all those wonderful things. It's not impossible that really happened. But now we have technology where once we had magic, it's not impossible that it was the case,
The more that science goes on, the more you think that there is other things that are undiscovered by science, which means that magic could possibly exist.
I think my feelings are that the magic days are gone now.
Yeah.
That they did exist, but I don't think you could get a decent spell going in this day and age. I really don't, I mean, my theory...
You have tried.
I have tried, yeah. It's mostly being mad.
I think the first picture I ever saw of you on the back of a book was
Alistair
Crowley stuff. Yeah. I was like, oh, I've never seen what this author looks like.
What?
Right.
That was quite the struggle to explain to the photographer what I wanted to show this picture. I could take a picture of you like standing by the tree outside. I said, no, that's not really. No, what I want is that I made this silly hat. It's got a sprout on the front. I want to do Oh, yeah. How about you go kind of side on? I'm not really working
Why
together on
didn't,
this, are we?
why didn't you just show him the original picture that you were
I
copying?
did. But he thought we should move beyond that. But I said, but that was the concept I wanted for that book. But well, we should move beyond that. And then he did that. So I said, right, well, I'm going to write, I don't know, well, knock me out a couple of dozen of those. And he said, well, I want £50 each for the prints. So I said, no, it's a publicity photograph. So I said, what I basically want is a big pile of them. No, I have to charge for each. I said, no, you're charging me a session fee. And then I said, no, I want some copies of them. I said, you're not going to do that, are you? I said, I'm going to have to take it up to the colour photocopier up the road, aren't I, and knock them out. No, I can't stop you doing that. Now we have a mobile phone. Yeah. Now we do a photo shoot in about 30 seconds on the mobile phone.
We got it down to 3.
We got it down to 3 pictures on the last one.
I had to take 3 to get the third one was the perfect one.
When I fell out with my publisher, I had my last author photograph taken wearing a gas mask, which should symbolise that I didn't like the smell of things around here. And they let it slip through because they weren't aware that that's what it meant. And I said to her, we get paid 400 quid for the author photo. I said, I want you to do it in at least 30 seconds, right? I stand there and you go click, click, click. I said, and we earn the fastest £400 on earth and we take the piss.
But now phones have advanced, so when you press once, it actually takes 20 photos.
It does bang them out, doesn't it?
So you can pick the best one from the 20.
Which one did you get? The number, third one, was it?
It was the third one,
It was the third one, yeah, well done.
Probably still on here
It
somewhere.
does
Money
all
well
sorts of
earned.
cool stuff.
That'll never happen again.
This one does like panoramic stuff.
Oh, God, I pay myself out of 4
Oh, what, you go round with it?
Yeah, you literally, you start taking,
Oh,
you
but
press
have you
it and
seen
then
the
you go like that and it
failures?
takes all of them.
Have you seen the panoramic failures?
No.
Oh, there's one of the like BuzzFeed or one of these websites, and because they don't always work.
Yeah.
And then you've got the giant dog that's like 6 foot
Yeah.
long.
Oh.
And there's a whole series of them. You can look them up on the internet.
No, because we used to.
Oh, sorry.
I used to do it manually because I used to take my digital camera and I'd be stood down on the top of a hill going click, 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 and I have to take
Link
it home.
them up in Photoshop.
Yeah, well, it wasn't in Photoshop. I had a program. I can't even remember what the program was called now, but it stitched all the photos together by you had to kind of put the photos next to each other and choose reference points and say that is that in that photo.
And then they kind of have the wrong type of sun because of clouds.
It'd take me like 4 hours to stitch a panorama together. This does it in like 3 seconds.
So we stood on the pier in Brighton today and he just went, woo!
And I have a big long photo. It's great.
It was quite cool because when we were sitting down having some donuts, we saw there was some skiers.
There were people on jet skis, yeah.
I think they were showing off.
And I was sat down, and one of them went right underneath me.
You saw them through the boards on the pier.
Oh, wow.
Dropped a donut on him.
Well, it's existed. I mean, it's existed since Victorian times. They had the ones that do all the group photographs.
Yeah.
Schools.
Yeah, well, you did it at school, and it used to go really slowly, and you'd get the guy at one end, and you'd run along
And
the
then
back
run along
of
to
the
the back.
twice.
Yeah.
Urban myth.
It's true.
Never happened. Never happened.
I've got one-
The
I've got
camera.
one-
No, you haven't. You've never seen that picture.
My
You
mum's got
believe
one.
it, as well as lots of other people believe you've seen that picture. It doesn't exist. The camera went, and it never took that slow time, and nobody ever did that. But everybody tells that story. Unfortunately,
It could have existed if there were twins on either end.
could have existed. It was a very fast person who could travel through time.
I was going to say, we also enjoyed the website that had, what was it? The Secret Lives of Inanimate Objects. Oh, that's one to look
yeah.
That is very funny.
Very
Drunk octopus wants to fight.
Yeah. These was this disdainful handbag disapproves of your fashion sense?
What was the coat? The coat hook that had a bad attitude about something or other.
Yeah, there was a fighting.
It was
the fighting coat.
It was it. Drunk octopus wants to fight.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Genius.
They're very funny. The captions are very funny.
We've got one we want to try this weekend. There's a new, because you know you had like planking and things as
Oh, and
kind of
owling.
memes.
Oh, have you seen vadering?
Yeah, vadering. This is what
yeah.
we're going to do. We're going to do a vadering shot this
You seen
weekend with her.
vadering?
Basically, they take pictures of people. So one person stands going like that, the other person jumps up in the air like that, and they take the photo in the air, so it looks like they're being force choked.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but it's all,
I'm not being one who's not going to
No, I'm going to be force choked by you.
yeah.
That's
But
my
you've seen
job.
there's pottering as well, which is where you get a broom and you jump up and you pretend to be Harry Potter on a broom and
Genius.
you take a photo just so that, you know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Can we try that?
Yes, we can try that, darling.
Is everybody supposed to jump up at the same time? Because there's lots of people on brooms.
Well, and then they Photoshop them so they're like over the sky and stuff. It's really very funny.
You don't really have to jump up for that, then.
You can kind of tell that I'm Harry Potter fan from the football team.
I did notice.
And the fact that the last time they saw you, you were wearing Gryffindor robes.
You were the family Potter, really.
Absolutely, yes.
Family Potter.
And this woman sat in a cafe and made this up and changed
Apparently
the world.
so, in Edinburgh.
It's a work
Of all
of genius,
places.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you can never put her down. I mean, she's absolute work of genius. I'll sit and go, so they go to wizard school, and the whole world goes, oh, that's so great. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, what a work of genius.
She's got her own section of Universal Studios Florida. I mean,
Say that again, or what?
Universal Studios.
Florida.
The wizarding world of Harry Potter.
It's as big as the entire of Marvel. If you think about how many people worked in Marvel, that has one section, and she has a bigger section on her own, which is just crazy.
Well, shouldn't there be Brentford World?
I think they should.
In website
There was in
story
a book,
there was.
though, right? Yeah.
Well, as well as
I've always done things on a rather small scale, you see, a more human scale.
Well,
I said
human
it's just
scale,
down
but
the
with
pub.
world-altering consequences.
Yes, but you, all these years you never knew two geezers down the pub in Brentford were constantly saving the world and nobody ever knew about it in Ealing, let alone in Chiswick. You know?
But that's what you love about it. That's what I was saying earlier about how now I imagine like seeing two people sat in a pub and going, what do they do when they're not here?
The problem, if there's any, well there are a few, but the problem with writing those books is, of course, is that they've always got to be saving the world. You know, if they were just having a laugh, it's got to fall short, doesn't it?
But you have to kind
That's
of
set the
imagine
bar
that
a bit high
that's
at the
what they do in
beginning.
their kind of off times, is you know that in between books they've just had months of sitting in the pub. And
I must have written a couple of books that didn't involve saving the world, didn't I? But you can't name them.
What? Brentford books?
Oh, hang on. They didn't. There was waiting for Godalming, and I wasn't Phantom of the Operator. It's not saving the world, is it? It's just about a bad man, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Okay. Dada Coat doesn't save the
That's
world.
not saving the world.
He
no,
just
no,
goes
that's
mad.
right. Oh, mate, yeah, it's about mad person. I am a bit hampered by the fact that half the time I'm insane. That does make life a little difficult. Sometimes I have a problem writing the books, you know. Yeah.
I have to interject a question at this point.
Good, thank God for that.
But no, oh, come on, it's fine just talking. But I'm going to say, what drew you towards writing steampunk away from all of the kind of Brentford and Armageddon stuff?
Oh,
No, you should just interview me. I could give you all these.
no, I've
Well,
written.
I'll interview you. It's fine.
How many years ago was it, Richard? Just 6, 7 years ago? Before I
No,
met
it
you.
was way before you met me. It
Yeah.
was 2000.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
pretty much one of the first books you
way
wrote
back
for
in the 80s,
Orion.
I was with a guy who was going to direct my books for TV, and this was in the early 80s, and of course it never came off. And he said to me, oh, you know, I want to do that, I want to do documentaries and all that. And I said, if you want to do a documentary, I said, the most forgotten person of the 20th century is Nikola Tesla. I said, nobody's done a, this was back in the 1980s. I said, nobody's done a
Way
documentary
before
about
Tesla
it.
was
You know,
fashionable.
I said, I said, what that guy, he invented AC current, he invented this, invented that. I said, and he was working on the wireless transmission of electricity.
Yes.
This was his idea. This would have been the most incredible thing, because then you could have like flying cars, because they don't need heavy batteries. They draw the power out of the air. I said, just,
A lot of people attribute inventions to other people who got it after Tesla, but Tesla didn't market it as well.
yeah.
As
Oh
something
yes.
new.
Absolutely.
Oh, we know all about Edison.
So he never did this documentary, and it was always bubbling because Tesla was always listening from when I was a kid. When I first read a book about him, he was my hero, and I thought one day I'm going to write a book about Tesla. And when I came to write the Witches of Chiswick, I imagined a Victorian world where two things had happened. One was that Babbage had got the difference engine into the Great Exhibition, which he never ever did. If he got the difference engine into the Great Exhibition, it's very possible the Victorians would have had computers by 10 years later. The whole world would have changed, but he never did. They decided they didn't want it in the Great Exhibition. It was, what was the point of that, you know?
In my work, we had various houses. We Halliday, Babbage, Edison.
You ought to have Lovelace.
No, we don't have.
A token woman would be nice.
Yeah, but all
The
these
slice of
ones-
Babbage's brain is in the Science Museum. I mean, which is a bit odd, isn't it?
Out of all these houses, one of my friends said it should be called Tesla, 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 Tesla.
Well, I set out to write a book where he gets a bit of good press. So in my Victorian book, which is a Chiswick, they built, Tesla's got the go-ahead from the British government. They've built all these towers. They've got broadcasting electricity. They've got this, that, and the next thing. And then I was contacted through Peter Harrow, and they said, "Oh, you've written this great steampunk book. And the steampunks want to come, you to come along to an event." And I went, "What's a steampunk?" And then I was told, "Well, it's people who dress up in beautiful Victorian clothes." I said, "I've been doing that all my life," but rather fearful to walk down the street. You mean a whole load of them get together dressed as Victorians? Yeah, but they're even better. They're science fiction Victorians. They like wear brass goggles and brass corsets. Oh God, yes please, can we? So we go along to Lincoln, and I said, "Oh God, this is like the best thing in the world. Look at all these cool people. This is wonderful." And then they gave me an award. They because of the book, they made me the first fellow of the Victorian Steampunk Society. I went, "Oh, this can't get any better." And I said, "Right," I said, "this is fantastic." I said, "I'm going to go back to my publisher literally on Monday." And I said, I can see a whole series of books here. I'm going to write some more Victorian books. I said, and I can use all this idea, the idea. I said, this is absolutely fantastic. And I went, and I said, look, I've got an idea for at least 3 books. The publisher said, "You've never had an idea for 1 book. We've always had to trust you. You've got 3. I said, "No, honestly." I said, I can see how it all works. And she said, "Oh, okay then." And I sat down and I started, I hadn't enjoyed myself as much for years, because I was writing about what I love, Victorian times, and I'm writing Victorian kind of science fiction fantasy. And of course, and you hold all the reins, you can do what you like. It's a new Victorian era. They can have anything, they can have all this stuff and
Monkey
spaceships.
butlers.
Monkey butlers, of course. Monkey butlers were a very important facet of all of this.
We will hopefully be seeing monkey butlers this evening.
You need a monkey butler.
She would try out.
Lean in a bit more, man.
Yes, shout louder, otherwise we won't hear you.
You do Victorian steampunk. You could do like more futuristic books. What would you do if you did futuristic?
I don't know. I've never gone that far into the future. I really haven't with my books. I've always written about the present and the past. I don't know if I ever written a book about the future.
Website stories set in the future.
Website stories.
Armageddon set in the future.
Armageddon
I did do a series that was set after there had been an atomic war, and that was set in the future. Yeah.
In one of these books, everybody's in a bunker and they're all hiding underground. And they have
All they do is watch telly day after day.
They watch TV and they watch TV and their brains rot. And that's what's going to happen to you when you watch too much TV.
So a bit of a prophet there.
As well, when I think about the future, I think of flying cars or like flying cities and things like that.
I'm glad you think about that, because that's what I thought about when I was your age. Yeah, it could happen. What somebody's got to do, I mean, I know this is all terribly cliche, but what somebody's got to do, they've got to come up with a new source of energy. They've got to come up with some very clever source of energy, which isn't the internal combustion engine, and works from some tiny little power cell, something or other. And then you can do all these fantastic things which we can't do.
This is at the moment we live in Didcot, which is kind of in the science area of Oxford.
Is it?
So we have, like 5 miles away, the Hadron.
No, it's not a hadron collider. It's a
a
particle accelerator. It's the
The
diamond
Didcot
light source.
collider.
Fusion thing. So what they have is 12-meter high magnets. They recreate the sun. They're trying to get a hydrogen reaction.
I've moved
release
far. I think I'd move a bit
Comfy
down
thought
south.
to go to sleep
I'd move
too.
out of the range of the explosion, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then down the road, you've got one of these sort of like particle accelerator things as well. And yeah, if anywhere's going to blow up, it's going to be my house.
They thought Didn't they think when they turned on the Large Hadron Collider that there was a very chance it was going to blow
create
the world
a
up?
black hole.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we always come up with one more really good idea that can like wipe us off the face of the earth. So,
Didn't you
so
say
I'd move actually.
when they turned on the first nuclear power plant in Britain, and the Queen came and turned it on, I declared it, and it started up, and all the electric light bulb lit up with this power plant. And then somebody said, "Well, is that for real?" I said, "Nah, it's been running for 3 days. We couldn't risk the Queen turning it on."
But they'd run that Hadron Collider for a couple of weeks before they officially turned it on, didn't they? Yeah. Just to see if it worked. Yeah.
Blowing up in front of the press.
Yeah, or the Queen. Can't blow the Queen up.
You were saying about being appointed first fellow of the Victorian Steampunk Society, and you got another accolade fairly recently. What was it you were appointed in the Galactic Knights?
Oh, yes, I'm a senator of the Galactic Knights.
Senator.
Absolutely wonderful. I don't know exactly what this power, how I can misuse.
What can you do with it?
Ah,
Force choking, obviously.
can senators do that? I do like the Galactic Knights. They don't. They take themselves seriously, but they also don't take themselves seriously. They know that they're not really Galactic Knights, and they have a good time.
You see a lot of outtakes of them boogieing around.
They have great fun, and when I don't know how it worked. I think I'd met a few of them and I talked to them, and then when we got the gig of doing the award ceremony. I don't know how it came about.
You just phoned them up or emailed them or something.
I think it was, yeah. And I said to them, would you be interested in kind of like marching me on at the beginning of the show?
The second year.
And they went, oh, we could all like come on and we marched down the thing. We've got our weapons. And they said, yeah, we'd love that. What I wanted to do on the second or third year was I wanted them to carry her on a big kind of shoulder-high palanquin thing, you know, which you sort of throw grapes out and all that stuff. And it kind of didn't come off for some reason. You weren't keen on being lifted up in the air, I think. You were afraid they were going to drop you.
No, you decided that I had to hold the hem of your raiment.
That
was
because I bought that. I bought
you can
that
see it
big
on YouTube.
thing. Yes, I bought the wonderful kimono. But no, they're absolutely a bunch of really nice people. And of course, the other thing is, you mostly only see them in their uniforms, and then afterwards they come up and go, oh, nice one, Robert. You go, who's that?
Who was that?
Who was that?
Oh, that was Darth Vader.
I'm
Right,
so,
okay.
Oh, I think I could only maybe recognise 3 of them, you know.
And some of them are girls.
Yes,
They are indeed.
Yes, they are.
You can't
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
under
yeah,
the armour.
Yeah. No, they're absolutely. See, that is a perk of the job.
Yeah.
All these things, I mean, doing all this stuff I've done, it's a great perk of the job.
The other one was the judging the air guitar championships. How was that?
That was a friend of ours, Gaz, who couldn't come, but he said, I know this guy in Brighton, he'd like to come. Yes, I would. It was such fun. And that also was done with charm and a lot of humour, and they were nice, weren't they?
Yeah,
the
lovely.
people who went in for it were having a fun time, even though 1 or 2 of them weren't. They were desperate to win because you get a trip to Finland.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you get to kind of play in front of the world audience.
Play in inverted commas, of course.
Oh yeah.
I consider myself a semi-professional air guitarist. For the amount I used to DJ and dance in rock clubs, I think I was
should have come down.
semi-professional.
As I was watching it, I
Next year.
thought I could see myself putting together an act and maybe going in for that guy. I think you're missing a few Pete Townsend windmills here. A bit of this. Although when I was like, oh, they should play it behind the back at that moment, I did play it down. Oh, okay, you got that one. It was a really. I mean, we just had an incredibly fun evening, you know, and it was very interesting because there was 2 of us, Andrew O'Neill and myself, and then there was the guy who's there every year. And basically his job is to keep it, the third judge, is to keep it under control. So basically, no matter how much Andrew and I were to vote, he could vote it up and down depending on his vote. And when I suddenly became aware of that, I thought, oh God, he's controlling it, this guy. You know, it doesn't matter what we vote, he can vote it down or vote it up depending on what we vote. And it finally got to the last one and it was going to be voted 2 for 1. I thought, we've got him. We finally got him. We can control this. And it was you who said, that guy should win, and there was a whole load of reasons why he should win. And you were absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
he
right.
played from the heart.
Yeah.
Whereas the other guy was a lot showier. And
He was. They were fun. They were all good.
They were all good. I mean,
But the other thing was, Andrew and I wanted to vote the woman to win. You know, we wanted the first woman air guitarist to go over the film, but we hadn't at that time discovered how he was voting us out. It was too late because he'd already voted her out. And we went, oh, bugger.
Okay, a couple of other random things that we normally do on a podcast is we're compiling a list of the NerdVsWorld list of films that everybody has to see.
All right.
And we ask everybody who comes on the show to contribute 5 films.
Oh, that's not that difficult. What, my 5 favourite movies?
It's kind of, well, it's either your 5 favourite or just 5 films you think everybody should watch.
Oh, well, okay. Well, all right, I've got a couple of favourites, which are my absolute favourites, which is Todd Browning's Freaks and Fritz Lang's Metropolis. 2 of my favourite all-time movies. The movie that everyone should see is the New Zealand movie.
It's working? Yeah, it's still going, yeah.
Right. The New Zealand movie Once Were Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I have, yeah.
That should be shown in all schools as part of the curriculum. An incredibly gritty, moving movie, which really is what it's like to be a Maori in New Zealand, which is the most beautiful country on earth, but a bit tough for the Maoris. So that's 3. What else would I have? Hello, you want to have one?
Micmacs.
Oh!
Big Fish.
Oh!
Big Fish is amazing.
Oh! Now, have you seen Micmacs?
I haven't seen Micmacs, I have seen Big Fish.
Most people haven't. It is a French widescreen movie, and it is. You come out of that movie and you go, do you know what? I'm a better human being for having seen that film. Now, how often does that happen?
Not very often.
I hadn't even heard of it when you took me to see that.
You feel like your soul has been washed.
It's a
In the
beautiful
laundry. You
movie.
feel laundered inside.
It should be brought back every 6 months and put in every cinema in England.
Who was it written by, directed by?
The same guy that did Delicatessen.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know his name, but it was just wonderful.
Utterly wonderful.
We won't spoil it for you by telling you too much of the plot.
Big Fish, because it's basically the story of my dad. So that makes me cry at the end.
Big Fish is a fantastic.
Lovely movie. What else have we got?
We always weep like babies when we watch that film.
We do weep a lot when we see Big
Sorry.
Fish.
Thank you. That's very good of you. That's your 5, though, isn't it?
Is that 5?
I don't know, might be. And obviously Terminator.
I was going to say
Terminator. Okay, so
No,
if it
I
wasn't
wouldn't
5,
go for Terminator, actually. If you wanted to go for a kind of a science fiction movie that I thought was a work of genius and had so many memorable lines in it, it was just seemed to be built to be remembered, is Predator.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about how old that film is,
Well, I know,
and then you think
yeah.
of it was an original.
1986
It's
Predator?
it's a long time ago. You've got Stan Winston's fantastic creature, and you also have this thing. Nobody had done that film before. A bunch of guys go out into the jungle. They're all a bunch of like tough buggers. They go out into the jungle, and there in the jungle is this hunter from another planet who's hunting for trophies, and he's got a device that makes him invisible. He's got this great technology, and it's got Arnie in it. Arnie at the peak of his performance. It was a work, and it's got all these lines. Go to the chopper.
And of course, the minigun.
It's got a General Electric minigun. The first time I think it was ever shown. It's just right. You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed. You've got time to die. It's just a wonderful movie from beginning to end.
It is great. Great.
So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I think it's a little gem.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have made 2, 3, 4.
All Predators.
Oh, God.
Alien vs Predator. Yeah, that was my worst one. I hated that film. It was the only character that you cared about in the film was the guy who had a family, and it was like, oh, we kind of care for him. Oh, he's dead. It's like, well, he was the guy we really cared about. Oh, but no, he didn't die. Look, he's alive again. And they killed him again. It's like, right, so the only character I cared about, you killed him twice. Thanks. We're at the Olympics opening song when he
That's a
was.
hold
It
up,
was,
so,
yes. No, not the cold dust.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Danny had it all. My friends,
Your friend
my
Dan,
good
yeah.
mate Dan,
Oh, yeah.
My mate Danny Boyle.
had it all worked out with the camera angles, and it was all going to be shot like a film. It was the whole thing was filmic. And then the BBC marched in the Monday before the thing on the Friday and said, right, we're taking it over and we're going to do all our own camera angles. And he went mental. Well, he didn't go mental because he's a very calm and controlled guy. And he couldn't negotiate back the rights.
So basically,
to do
just did a
his
Kenneth
own.
Branagh movie.
So we were basically edited out the whole Notting Hill section with costumes, the steel band.
How many weeks of rehearsals? 12.
Must be more than 12. Yeah, about.
And then the whole section is not shown at all.
Because wasn't there something about the commentary where they went, oh yeah, and this is the steampunk bit?
Oh, the commentary was added by Hugh Edwards, and Danny, that was one thing he did negotiate, was you had the red button option to turn it off, so it would just show with the music. But he did sit down with Hugh Edwards and kind of try and explain to him what it was about to get his vision across. But the point is that the Victorian bit that we were in, the bit that was called Pandemonium, it was just, they just showed Kenneth Branagh the whole time. Instead of showing all the other things that were going on, they just showed the Brunel bit.
Well, you were in the Victorian bit, you were in the 1950s.
No, we were in the Victorian bit, we were in Pandemonium. We were in the Industrial Revolution part, at the end of that.
So, did Windrush come over in Victorian times, did it?
No, it came over in 1948.
I was under that impression.
Yeah, but we were in that section of the opening ceremony. It was a historical parade.
Yes, it was, yeah.
History, we were history.
Yeah, well, you are.
And there was the NHS and the other bit.
Yeah, oh yes, and the NHS got a big old view in there, didn't they? Got them
Well,
dancing around the
their whole
beds.
section, there was a 20-minute section, ours was a 20-minute section.
I think he did the right thing, didn't he? I mean, he didn't try and do China. You know, he did a sort of stage show, like a music hall. I mean, what he did was fun to watch, wasn't it? You know? I could have done without what seemed an interminable about the kind of top of the pops, though. It just started off and then it did a whole load of sort of projection things of singing and dancing.
Contemporary section about the future of technology and all of that. It was supposed to...
Dizzy Rascal or something.
Yeah.
Who was the one?
But if,
Who was the one? It was one of them who was his mate. What was his name? It wasn't Dizzy Rascal, was it?
Dizzy Rascal was in
it?
it, yeah.
I didn't think he deserved quite such a big part.
But you've got to remember,
Little peripheral,
this was designed not for a British audience, it was designed for an international audience, which is why it had to have all the things in it that foreign people would recognise about Britain. And of course, a big part of that is our contemporary culture, which involves people like Dizzy Rascal.
I'd like a little bit more about Mars bars myself. You know,
A little bit about
Mars bars and home fried flour. You know, there are certain things which really matter to me.
A lot of people who thought that Iron Maiden should have been included as well.
Who?
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah, I'd go along with Iron Maiden. I think that's quite good. I mean, we did have the King's Play, and I think, well, that was at the closing ceremony, the King's Play, didn't
Yeah, there was some in the opening and there was some in the closing. But, Iron Maiden.
Got
were a
Doctor
big-
Who in there. Did you notice the Doctor Who?
I would have just done the whole thing as Harry Potter from beginning to end, really. Just acted out one or two of the books.
They had a big old Harry
Done
Potter
deal.
in it.
Oh, God.
JK was there.
She was, yeah.
Did anyone from Queen do it? Did Brian May do it?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
John Deacon, yeah. Because I read randomly, were you at university?
We were Freddie.
Freddie Mercury, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us
3
some
years,
stories about Freddie.
Interesting, so my parents were huge Queen fans. I'm a huge Queen fan. My middle name is Frederick because of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
My mum was pregnant when they went to see him
Unfortunately, so
play.
therefore your middle name should have been Farouk.
Indeed.
Where was Freddie when we did? I mean, I was very lucky because I was at college with him and also with Alan Lee, the guy who's in Lord of the Ring illustrations, who inspired Peter Jackson. He was, and he won the Oscar.
Yeah.
So I was a gosh, pretty cool people.
Well, didn't you have an incident with Freddie and a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
This sounds worth hearing.
I met him by spilling coffee down his trousers.
Hang on, his white satin trousers.
white.
Is that why he has to wear such tight trousers?
What he did. I think I inspired him to sing quite well. That noise that came out of his mouth.
Hot
There's
coffee.
nothing like a hot cup of coffee in the...
And didn't you used to play
Silky
chess
cat.
with him?
Oh, we got into... I don't know why we got into chess. We got into a lot of things at college. Remember, it was 1967 onwards, so it was pretty good stuff to be at art school. And
So where was that?
Ealing School of Art, yeah. Now Thames Valley University, whatever that means. And It was a very cool place to be, and there wasn't that much dope. There really wasn't. I mean, but it was an awful lot of having fun. But we got into this thing, I don't know who started it, about playing chess in all the spare times, or play chess for money. And this thing built up. And my dad had said to me, oh, you know, you can cheat at any game. I said, well, you can't cheat at chess, can you? He said, well, you sort of can. You can sort of like cause enough confusion with your partner that he doesn't quite know what you've got up to, and think, you know, you can move other pieces about, or because you're not looking at. I said, well, that sounds a little unlikely to me. Except I finally beat Freddie Mercury at chess, and it cost him, I think, about £3, and I had both my bishops on the white squares, and he didn't notice. I was very proud of that. But he got the money back because he used to have a stall in Kensington Market, and he used to sell stuff for us. We used to do these sort of Robert Crumb plaques, and there was an artist called Robert Crumb who was many years ago. We used to do these sort of wall plaque things, and Freddie used to sell them. And he owed us about £3.50, which seemed to be money in those days. And we went to pick up the money. Where's Freddie's stall gone? No, he hasn't got a stall anymore. Why hasn't he got a stall anymore? Oh, he's trying to make it in the music industry. Oh, he's never going to make it in the music industry. We've seen his band play, he's rubbish. He owes me £3. And I was in the room, which it just tickles me to death. I was in the room when the band was named Queen, right? Because we were sitting around and he was saying, oh, I need a really good name for the band, I need a good name. And I was coming out with a load of stupid names. And this girl, Josephine, came up. She was very, very posh, very, very laid back. She said, what are you doing? I said, we're choosing a name for Freddie's band. He wants a good name for his band. She said, are you the lead singer, Freddie? And he said, yes. She said, well, Freddie, you'll have to call it Queen then, won't you, darling? And he did. And then we had the college reunion. I said, do you remember, Josephine? You named that band. She said, I don't remember that. So I thought, wonderful. And he wasn't. He really was. There's no, people say, oh, yeah, no, he wasn't certain about his sexuality. No, he was.
I think he was
he was the gayest man I've ever met.
He was very, very certain.
He was absolutely certain.
Did he get married at some point?
No, he had a very, very close girlfriend, didn't he? He was his best friend for years and years. I mean, the truth is that he led...
was his best friend.
Huh?
She was his best friend.
Yes, yeah.
There was a very interesting documentary that was on recently. I don't know if you saw it. It was a Freddie Mercury documentary. I didn't make you watch it because I know you're not a fan of Queen. But...
I saw it.
Did you see it all? Oh, okay.
The bitterness at the college reunion 20 years later was unbelievable. The spite from people. And this guy, Colin Hughes, I put him on there, Colin Hughes, he said, oh, well, he was a queer, the music was derivative, and he got what was coming to him. I went, you've gotta be kidding me.
Jesus.
I said, I mean, you know, the world is not such a good place. Now it doesn't have Freddie Mercury in it. I said, he was a consummate entertainer. I said, who gives a damn about what happened off stage? Because quite frankly, what Freddie did off stage, he even said was boring. He was only really alive when he was on stage in front of 200,000 people.
He was the greatest
He was a
showman
very
on earth.
ordinary person when he wasn't on stage, and a very shy, self-effacing, but you would never have thought, if I had to pick out of all the people I went to college with, who was going to be a star, I wouldn't have picked him. He was too shy, he was too, he'd sit in the corner, you'd never have guessed that man would play in front of millions of people and be a superstar. You wouldn't have guessed that, I looking back now, feel honoured that I was in the same room for a couple of years with him, I met a famous person before they were famous. I'm absolutely chuffed. Same as Alan Lee. Of course, I admire Alan Lee more because he's a fantastic artist. And I didn't have to copy him mercilessly, but I couldn't figure out how he did it.
You call it an inspiration, don't you?
It was a homage. This man has fed me too much alcohol.
I do apologise.
No, thank you.
But thank you very much.
And there you have it, folks. So all that remains is to say thank you once again to Robert and Raygun for giving up a couple of hours of their Saturday evening to come and talk to us. It was an absolute pleasure. And until next time, take care and be excellent to each other.